Hello, I'm Anthony Romerell and welcome to CG for Me. We're going to talk today about Richard Williams' method to timing and spacing in animation. So the easiest way that I can find to talk about timing and spacing is to just open up the graph editor. And here I have the graph editor. I'm going to define timing as the amount of time or amount of frames per second that occur over a specific period. Basically, you could figure timing as time passing. So that is in the Maya graph, frames going in this direction. The spacing is how long it takes for something to travel over that period of time. So if it has if it passes slower over time, it's going to have shorter spacing. So I'll give you an example. So I'm going to create a primitive. Let's make a polygon primitive. And there's a sphere. I'm going to scale it up just a little bit. And we'll move it up to here. So I'm going to zero out the translations, pull up to a translation value of 1. There we go, that's how I want to set it. Hit 5 to shade it. So it's still dealing with the same time, so you can see the spacing. I'm going to do 24 frames, so I'm going to change it to frame 25. Now when you're starting animation, there's a few things you're going to want to set. First of all, set your timing of your animation by clicking this button, opening up a dialog window, to real-time 24 per second. By default, it says play every frame, and your animation will play very fast, as fast as your computer can go. So let's move this sphere. Let's set some keys. To set keys in Maya, you go to the place and time that you want to set the key, you position your object, and I'm going to create some contacts. So I'm going to hit S, and I'm going to make this the contact. Richard Williams defines the contact position as the area that's making contact with something else. And frame 25, I'm going to key it again. So there's 2 contacts. Now, I'm going to go to frame 13, and I'm going to do the passing position. Let's make this a nice even number. Let's say 12. This is my passing position. And I have to put it up there and then hit S to key. And let's isolate translate X so we can talk about timing and spacing. So timing and spacing is about how far or how fast something goes with the distance traveled. So this represents distance traveled. Let's just do a straight even line. So here's a straight even line. Everything is going to go at a very even pace. So it's going up and down at the same rate. It's going up and down, up and down. Now I can also manually scrub my timeline. I can push my play button to play it, or manually scrub through my timeline. But you can see the spacing right here is even, meaning the distance from this point to this point to this point and so on are exactly the same. So if I were to go through and key each frame, I'll just show you. Notice the spacing is even. This is called even spacing. So the distance between these 2 points going in this direction, remember this direction is the spacing, this direction is the timing. So everything is evenly spaced. Now let's change our spacing again to make this ball look like a yo-yo. So I'm going to select my grid items, and I'm going to flatten these down and push play, and you're going to see I'm going to get a yo-yo effect. Now what's happening is it's slowing as it's hitting the top section, and slowing down, and slowing as it's hitting the bottom section. So let's take a look at this timing and spacing. So this is the timing. Let's add in some spacing by keying so you could see. So right here I get consistent spacing, but the rate at which it's growing You can see right here. Now look at the distance between this point here and this point. Even better way to show this is to change this to stepped animation. So look at the distance between the spacing in this area and the spacing in this area. See how I have shorter spacing going up versus the staircase, then it evens out, and then the spacing shortens again. This is called stepped animation. So I'll undo those keys, and let's make the timing and spacing even more extreme. Let's have it go very slow. So let's add, between the passing position, let's add a breakdown, and let's pull this key down like so. And you're going to see very, very slow spacing here. So you can see the spacing. Let's keyframe all of these keys. And change this to stepped animation so you can see very different spacing. You can see the spacing gets taller as it increases in speed. Remember, this direction is the spacing, this direction is the timing. The timing is always consistent. Each bit of time represents a single frame. But the spacing changes. The spacing is the distance that it's traveling. And you can see I have shorter spacing to go slower, increase in spacing until they're pretty much dead even, and then the spacing slows down. And here's the result. So I will undo those keys. And let's change the spacing dramatically. So what I'm going to do is take these two bottom keys, and I'm going to make this look more like a bouncing ball by changing them to look like this. So here is a bouncing ball. It's not hitting very hard. Could hit harder. To make it hit harder, I'm going to select the point here and then pull up this control using the middle mouse button. Now you have to be in the Move tool and the middle mouse button at the same time in order to move these handles. And now it's going to bounce more like a basketball. See, I get a nice hard hit. Very different spacing. Let's break down the spacing here by setting keys. Let's go to break it down a little slower to maintain the curve. Now let's change these to step just so you can see it. Now see, this is a longer step here, and it evens out and starts to shorten. Thus it's hitting fast and hard and then slowing down as the distance is getting shorter. That's the spacing. We can go even more extreme just by doing it this way. So I'll just pull these up and just change the spacing manually. I'm middle mouse dragging to make these changes. So there's the timing and the spacing.